The roots that learned to climb. At first glance, it was just a tree. A heavy bending canopy spilling downward like tired hands, each leaf layered with obsessive care. The branches stretched outward, thick and ancient, their bark etched with lines that seemed too deliberate, too consistent, like fingerprints repeated over and over again. But it wasn't the tree that unsettled me. It was what grew beneath it. Thin, wiry lines rose from the ground like roots, but they weren't buried. They climbed. They twisted upward in looping arcs, intersecting, weaving into strange, rounded shapes that didn't belong to anything natural. They didn't follow soil or gravity. They followed something else. A design. At first I thought it was just an artistic choice, decorative, maybe symbolic. Then I noticed the repetition. Each loop matched another, not perfectly, but close enough that my eyes began to trace them without permission. Circles that weren't circles, paths that almost connected, gaps that felt intentional. I tried to stop looking, but the longer I stared, the more the shapes aligned. And when they aligned, something clicked. Not in the drawing, in me. It felt like recognizing a word in a language I had never learned, but somehow always known. The loops weren't random. They were forming something. Not letters, not symbols. Coordinates. My vision blurred as the empty space in the center of the drawing seemed to deepen. It wasn't just blank paper anymore, it was distance, depth, a place. And the roots, those climbing impossible roots, weren't growing. They were reaching toward that space, toward something inside it. I blinked, and for a second, the lines shifted. Not much, just enough. The loops tightened. One of them closed where it hadn't before. And something inside that empty space moved. I dropped the page, but the pattern didn't leave my mind. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the loops again. Only now they weren't on paper. They were beneath my skin, threading through muscle, wrapping around bone, pulling gently, insistently, guiding. When I finally gave in, I found myself drawing. Not consciously. My hand just moved. Line after line, loop after loop, climbing upward across the page, faster and faster, until the shapes began to form again, almost right but not quite. Something was missing. I knew what it was. The center. I hesitated, staring at the blank space I had left in the middle of the loops. It felt wrong to leave it empty. It felt worse to fill it, but the pressure in my chest tightened like something was waiting for permission. So I drew one more line. Just one. It connected two loops that weren't supposed to meet. And the moment it touched, the paper tore inward. Not ripped, not split. Pulled. Like something on the other side had been waiting for that final connection. The hole wasn't dark. It was pale, endless, silent. And from it, something reached back. Not a hand, not a root, a line. Thin, familiar. It curled outward from the tear and touched my wrist. I didn't feel pain, just recognition. The same recognition I had felt when the pattern first made sense. The line wrapped gently around my arm, then sank beneath the skin without resistance, threading inward as if it had always belonged there. More followed. From the page, from the drawing, from every loop I had completed. By the time I realized what was happening, I couldn't move. My body wasn't resisting. It was aligning. And somewhere, deep in that empty space, something vast shifted, as if I had just finished mapping the last path it needed. The roots weren't climbing the tree. They were learning how to climb us. If you ever find yourself doodling loops that almost connect, do yourself a favor. Leave one open. Trust me, unfinished art has never dragged anyone into another dimension. Probably. See you next Tuesday, unless you've already started drawing.